Hello guys, good afternoon, good morning, evening. You're welcome back to my channel. My name is Olivia. If you're just seeing me for the first time, thank you, welcome. I'm a Nigerian migrant who currently lives in South Africa, and I've lived in South Africa for over 10 years plus and counting, or 11 years, or even, I don't know, yeah, over 11 years now. And I just want to tell you about my experience living in South Africa. I want to tell you about the pros and the cons. I don't dwell on cons, I dwell on pros, but there may be a few cons here and there. But my experience living in South Africa so far as a Nigerian, yeah. So I just want to tell you that my experience living in South Africa, I don't know about another person, but my experience has been positive so far. I've had a lot of good things I can say about South Africa. I've had a lot of positive things. It's been mostly positive. I've never had any horrible experience here in this country. It has been a life-changing experience for me. As a young lady that came here, I gave birth to 3 beautiful, amazing kids here in this country, and yes, it's been good. I've studied here in South Africa and it's been good. Okay, so let me start from the pros. For me, one of the pros about living in South Africa is diversity. I've never seen a culturally diverse country like South Africa. South Africa has the black, the white, the Indians, the colored, Asians, and a lot of Africans that are not originally from South Africa living in South Africa. So diversity is one of the beauties of this great nation called South Africa, and it has been a positive for me because I've lived in 3 provinces in South Africa, and wherever I go to, I find a different kind of diversity. When I was in KZN, I found a different kind of diversity. Oh, the Indians, oh, the Zulus, oh, the whites. And when I am here in Northwest, oh, the blacks, oh, the whites. I don't see much of Indians really here. When I visit Cape Town, I see, oh, the blacks, the whites, the colored, the Indian. So it's diverse, and with diverse people comes diverse culture, diverse food, diversity generally. So that's one of the pros, that's one of the beauties, that was one of the things I like about living in South Africa. And another thing I find beautiful in South Africa are the houses. I don't know about you, but the way the houses are constructed in South Africa are so beautiful. They are so beautiful that you can compare it. If you go to Johannesburg, if you go to those beautiful suburbs in Johannesburg, in Cape Town, like the way the country is kind of structured, the way the urban areas is structured is like the abroad. Is like Europe and America. I've not been to those countries, but I know there are similarities. The way the urban areas are mapped out, for me, it's beautiful. It's a pro for me. Like, I mean, the first time my mom came here, and when she traveled to the US, she was like, oh, I don't really see so much difference in South Africa and US. Yeah, because she came to South Africa. So, you know, whatever you can see abroad, you see it here. The way franchise happens in abroad, you see it here. So the similarities with South Africa and abroad is just, you know, when you live in South Africa and you watch abroad movies, all these American and, you know, movies and European movies, you don't see so much difference. Like, you can fit in when you live here. You know what I mean? So that's an experience for me. Interesting. Okay, I just want to talk about area of education. I can't stress enough about the area of education. I've talked about my experience studying in South Africa, and I can talk from now to tomorrow. The education I saw here was totally different from what I experienced in Nigeria. It was mind-blowing. It was a whole different experience for me. The education was top-notch for me. I did my honors degree, if you don't know, yes, and I proudly did my master's degree in the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and my honors degree also in the University of KwaZulu-Natal. And oh my God, the education was good, the research was good. It was, I don't know how to quantify it. Like, I just feel like somebody that went to Harvard. I don't know about you. So I'm just saying, actually, the education system in South Africa is good. Even the nursery, primary, secondary, university. In Nigeria, the education is also good. It's just that we are losing a lot of touch, you know. Things were good, better in the days of my parents and all that, more than our days. So what I experienced in my days in Nigeria, in South Africa, the education was so good. I liked it. So South Africa has a very good education system, and even my kids that are in primary school now, you see the way, oh my God, all the things they know. I give it to South African education system. Yeah, so another thing I experienced differently, my experience in South Africa, is that South Africa has different kinds of meal from what I know and what I eat, and yeah, I experienced a different set of food I don't know that could exist, like pap. I'm not a big eater of pap right now, but I've eaten pap, but I'm a huge meat eater, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know. I'm a huge veggies eater right now. I love me some veggies because South Africans are big on veggies. They are big on steaks, they are big on ribs. Okay, so the kind of foods that is being eaten in South Africa is another experience I've had as a Nigerian. Our food is very, very different, and the way we prepare it is different. Even if we eat rice in Nigeria and South Africans eat rice, the way of preparing these meals differ from each other. So and South Africans has influenced me with pap eating, and not so much, but with meat eating, with veggies eating. Okay, yeah. I always say it, and I'll keep saying it. The way I'm now a huge eater of meat, it was unheard of that you be eating meat as food. In Nigeria, see, let me tell you, in Nigeria, we don't eat meat as food. We eat starch as main meal and meat as just a little side meal that might be one tiny piece of meat or two max. But South Africans eat meat as the main meal and starch as very little minute. Then veggies, yeah, they always include, so they always have this veggies, meats and starch going around, but we eat mainly starch or protein like beans, or but we don't do more of meat. So the food has also given me a different kind of okay, so food can be eaten like this. So another experience I've had in South Africa is the social life. South Africa has different kind of social lives from Nigeria. South Africans are much more reserved, more than Nigerians. They are less loud than Nigerians. We are naturally loud. Not that it's not a good thing. I like it. That's how we are. And I also like South Africans being, on the reserved side, not too loud. So social life in South Africa differs, and I've experienced that. Okay, you might be living with your neighbor, and oh, hello neighbor. You might be living with your neighbor. You've not visited your neighbor before. It happens. Like I don't even know my neighbors right now. But in Nigeria, in a different ballgame. Your neighbor most likely has to automatically be your friend or a family member. Like that's how we are. So the social dynamics in South Africa is very different. And then, again, as a migrant, I also have another kind of social dynamics, because of course I don't have my family here. I don't have a lot of friends. So the social dynamics for me differs, and the general social dynamics in South Africa is different from the social dynamics in Nigeria. Nigerians have a way of socializing. South Africans have a way of socializing as well. In the communities, I hear it's also a different social dynamics from my previous videos. The way the urban areas socializes is different from the way the rural areas socialize. So the dynamics differ. I've also learned that, such dynamics can exist in a certain country. So that's one thing about me. But the one I've learned is that I mind my business. I've said it before, like in South Africa, you just have to mind your business. You just have to greet politely, talk gently. South Africans, they don't like it when you're shouting. They're like looking at you. You're so strange when you're shouting. In Nigeria, we talk but and that's our way of life. We are loud, we are expressive, and yeah, in South Africans are not loud. They talk. Some people will be talking and be like, why is this person talking like this? When I came newly, okay, but now I know that that's how they are. So that's my experience, and sometimes I try to be calm, but sometimes the Nigerian in me can just erupt and I start talking loud. Other times I can just joke, hello, Johnny. So another experience I have here in South Africa is that you don't cut corners. Oh my God, I've said you do not cut corners. You don't say I beg, please, like something. Let me just say you hit somebody's car in South Africa. Okay, in Nigeria, when you hit somebody's car, if the person you hit the person, okay, maybe you hit a rich person's car, the poor person can come out and start saying I beg, like I beg this, please, or God, I beg, forgive me, no vex. In South Africa, there's nothing like I beg. where is your insurance? You know, you're going in for it. So it's a different kind of dynamics here, and that's my experience. I experienced that here in South Africa, you don't cut corners. What you're supposed to do, you will do it. There's nothing like I beg you now, got no vex. No. You have to bring out your insurance, and if you hit somebody's car, you have to take care of it. Yeah. So they don't cut corners. They hardly cut corners here in South Africa, which is a good thing. So that's one thing I've actually learned about the people of South Africa in my over 10 years of living in South Africa. And yeah, I try not to, if I go into the bank and for instance, and somebody tells me, oh, sorry, I can't do this, and I'm like, okay, thank you. If it was Nigeria, I say, please now, I beg. Is that not, try to kind of sometimes try to plead our way through things but in South Africa here is not allowed. And that's one major lesson. Let me tell you, this is one major lesson I've learned here in this country, that you don't plead your way out of situations. If they say this is the policy, sorry, this is how it's happening, this is how it's happening. For instance, my daughter was recently sick, and in Nigeria, when somebody is sick, somebody can go and sleep with her in the hospital. Okay, that's the normal thing in Nigeria. But when my mom came and she was like, oh, sorry, I want to sleep with the little girl, the nurses said, sorry ma'am, you can't sleep with her. That's the policy. And I told my mom, don't worry, if that's the policy, that's the policy. In Nigeria, I'll be like, please now, she's a small girl. No. So that's one thing. Another thing is good healthcare system. I mean, the healthcare system in South Africa, from my experience, is superb. Like my daughter, like I said, my daughter was in the hospital and she was fine all by herself. She, the nurses knew their job. Not that in Nigeria people don't know their job, but the system just allows some things to go by. But here in South Africa, the nurses knew their job. If you're meant to be there, you're there. If you're meant to give medication at so time, you're meant to, the system generally works. The hospital is so good and all that. So the hospital system is good. The medical practice here is very, very on par. That's my experience. Every time I go to the hospital, and I always have a good experience. Even when I gave birth, I had a good experience 3 times. I had a very good experience. I asked my daughter, did you have a good experience? She said yes. The nurses were always there. She always rang the bell, and they were at her beck and call. In the night, they bring tea for her and ask her, do you want tea, coffee, or rooibos? That's how she said it. And sometimes they bring tea, and she will always say tea. And I say, what do they serve you? She says sandwich or biscuits. That's how the system is. You just flow with the system. So as a migrant in South Africa, I just have a few cons, like things I'm about. I'll just mention them in passing so that it won't seem like I'm being partial. These days, the visa is taking so long. Getting permits in South Africa is becoming too difficult. I don't know what the problem is, but I don't know. Another thing that I'm not so keen about is the constant changing of immigration laws. Like, of course, I'm not complaining. I'm not telling the country how to run its country, But yeah, that's one thing I'm like, so the immigration law changes every now and then, and it is what it is. Yeah, of course, less job for migrants. I understand the system. I understand there's the unemployment rate in the country presently is very, very high. So it's also part of the problem, of course. But that's just the little, cons I will say. Of course, crime is a little bit on the rise. Well, anyway, it is what it is. It's also on the rise in Nigeria. It's also in the rise in America and other countries. But yeah, that's it. What would I say as a migrant? I've really had a good experience in South Africa so far. My not too good experiences are not a lot, or what I will say that has stood out for me is things I've had to unlearn, things I knew back home, or my previous way of life back home, and things I had to unlearn. And yeah, that's majorly one of the things I will say that, yeah. And the education system, for me, I will always say it. I had a very good time studying in this country. And again, healthcare system in South Africa is on par. Like, a lot of things are good. For an African country, I will say, even if I leave South Africa today, I will say for an African country, South Africa, I'm impressed. I've been impressed so far. There are some things that are going down, like, the constant electricity shortage that's, on the rise. But I understand that, of course, a country will still have its challenges, and yeah, one of the challenges which I know that the government is doing something about, and amongst that, and of course inflation, I wouldn't say is a peculiar problem to South Africa, but yeah, that's the only thing. But every other thing, they still try to maintain the culture of maintenance. The other day I was passing by a road and I saw them. They were building new roads and all that. Those maintenance culture in South Africa, by my own experience, is something to write home about. It's good. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not yet subscribed, please do well to hit on the subscribe button. Share, comment, tell me what you think on the comment section, and please share this video, like, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.